it might not surprise you to know that you don't have to go very long between interviews when Harry and Meghan are concerned. You know, she's been a bit quiet lately, but he hasn't. Let's face it, he's had his book out, he's been talking on talk shows. He's now decided to give yet another interview. This is the one I think I'm not wrong in saying was the sort of the webinar which he did with a bloke called Dr Mate. Dr Gabor Mate. It might be Mate, I'm not entirely sure, it's a Hungarian name apparently. But Dr Gabor Mate is a pretty controversial figure. He's known around Californian circles as a sort of a heavy-duty therapist, but he's also got some rather interesting views about Israel, Hamas, and the Palestinian struggle as well. Let's talk to Angela Levin, royal biographer and journalist, about this latest interview. But before we do that, let's have a look at him talking about his authentic self.
The times that I ventured towards being myself, being my authentic, true self, for one shape or another, whether it was through media or family or whatever it was almost like, don't be yourself. Come back to what you expected to be.
Dear God. Angela, a very good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
I mean, I don't really want to continue to give Harry a hard time, but he makes it very difficult, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, those gestures and that explanation of who he might be or is or was is soul-destroying, actually. I can't recognise him at all. And he goes on to say so much that Meghan, the exceptional woman, has given him space. Maybe she says, get out of here. You don't quite know what that means. But he's desperately unhappy. I mean, the guru gave him about 5 illnesses that he's got. You know, depression, anxiety, panic disorder, PTSD, and attention deficit disorder. I mean, for goodness sake, how can he say that he's actually in a good place? When I was with him, before Meghan became the most important woman in his life, he was fun, he was energetic, he was a really nice, jolly prince who could do good work. And now he looks like somebody who's dragged off the street. Quite
He's a sort of shadow of his former self in all sorts of ways, isn't he? And whenever you see the footage, when he talks about, you know, giving his children love, smothering them with love because he never had any. Well, hang on a minute. You know, his mother, who he professes to absolutely hero worship, was alive for quite a long part of his childhood. If he says he didn't get any love at all, then is he saying that she didn't give him any either? You know, he's saying he came from a broken home, like, you know, minimum 50% of people in this country. You see pictures of him with his father and his brother, video footage from the ski slopes when they were growing up. You know, you see no sign whatsoever of a child who isn't having a lovely life.
No, I think he's been told that his father is terrible and his brother is terrible. He didn't mention William throughout the 90 minutes of horrid listening. He said, which was a sort of undercover attack of him, that he felt very differently from other members of the royal family, and his mother did as well. So it was just the two of them who felt differently. And underneath that is saying, you know, she didn't like William as much as she loved him, and William didn't like her very much. He's suffering too, but he's managed to turn it into something positive. And as he said, be creative, not wound down by all this agony. He must miss her every day. But to ignore him completely and put himself on a pedestal for taking all sorts of dangerous drugs, some of which are illegal. And he also, when he talks about cuddling his children, as he said, it seems to be an obsession, not just a love, that if you see them and they're laughing or they're crying, you pick them up, hug them. You don't turn it into a whole episode. And you think that he's actually doing this because he feels he must. There's a sort of huge tension there.
Well, let's have a look at what you...
up like him.
No, I mean, you were referring to what he said about Meghan. Let's have a look at him saying it himself.
My partner is an exceptional human being, and I am eternally grateful for the wisdom and the space that she's been able to give to me.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
you know,
exceptional
what does that
human
mean?
being. Yeah, she sent her first husband the wedding ring back in an envelope when she decided to take up with somebody else in Toronto.
Yes.
Doesn't sound
I
that
know.
exceptional.
I
Sorry.
think it's exceptional, but I don't think he meant that. But he obviously worships her still, which is fine for him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he understands what's going on underneath the
Right.
layer. And
Well, I mean, let's do a little pop psychology, shall we? Since, I mean, he's such a big fan of pop psychology. I would suggest to him that to be in a relationship with somebody that you worship is probably not the greatest idea, because you will do nothing other than to try and please them, and you will do nothing other than to try and do exactly what they want you to do, and you will never have a grown-up and proper, actual, loving relationship, because you are in such awe of that other person that you can't be yourself, as he so much wants to be.
I never see that those sort of relationships last, actually.
No.
Because the person who wants you to be, you know, hailing them and respecting them so much that they never have opinions or decisions of their own, I get bored with that. It might be all right at the beginning. You think, oh, this is wonderful. This is the man in my life who will do, as I say, who believes what I say. But after a while, I don't know any couple where that works.
No, exactly. And also, yeah, he gave...
Surely you've got to be accepted for yourself, whatever that is.
Absolutely.
And certain things can change.
Yeah.
We can't actually completely be grovelling on the ground.
No. Well, otherwise you become subsumed into the other person's personality, which is exactly what's happened to him. You know, he can have all this for free, by the way. He doesn't have to pay any expensive Californian, you know, shrinks. I can give him all of this as my life's work and my life's kind of advice to him. Because he's also blundered massively with anti-drug campaigners, because he's talked an awful lot about the use of his the drugs that he used to take, and I wouldn't be surprised if he still does take them. I mean, it's not illegal to smoke marijuana in California, so he wouldn't be doing anything wrong by smoking it. But he talks about using positive experience of using the psychedelic drug ayahuasca, which I think is one of those South American sort of things that you find that grow in the far reaches of the Peruvian jungle. I think that's what it is. He says it was very good. It's an Amazonian plant. Treats patients suffering from mental illness. Cocaine, he says, didn't do much for me. Marijuana is different. He says that did help me. I mean, it's an extraordinary kind of series of admissions and very unhelpful, according to drug campaigners.
Yes, I mean, he says there's dangerous ones. Cleared his windscreen of himself. I mean, it's ridiculous language, but he's very angry with his family. He wanted them to learn his language, as if he's forgotten how to speak English. Extraordinary. But the thing about these drugs is that how does he cope with his children with these drugs? Doesn't his wife say to him, look, you've got to get this sorted. We must make sure you're all right. Because he looks such a wreck.
Well, he can't be looking after young children if he's getting stoned all the time.
Well, you know, if he's stoned at all, he can't look after good young, small children. And also, he can't be a teacher for people with mental health, who is working in California on. I mean, how can they have an advisor like that when some of the time, or even little of the time, he's absolutely away with the fairies?
Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, I dare say there'll be another interview along soon, because he can't go long without doing another one in his quest for privacy. Thank you very much indeed, Angela Levin, royal biographer, journalist, of course, as well.